Hi, I'm Sam Householder. I'm the communications manager here at Elkhart Public Library, and with me today is Trevor Wanzanka, our chief marketing officer. And this is a new program for all of us, so we're just going to talk and see where it goes.
Please bear with us.
Yes. I think that to start off with, we want to talk about our Explore magazine. This issue's been out for a couple months now, but we're working on the next one. Trevor, I mean, what did you think? Obviously, the cover story you wrote about Nick Fry, and how did Explore magazine come about?
So we needed a product that could help, connect the library with the community more, and really doing this in magazine format to give somebody something really to hold on to want to keep around, to throw on the coffee table, to, just have for, a couple months at least, to look at all the programs and all the happenings at the library. And I think it's turned out to be a very valuable publication.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, obviously you and I, it's kind of our baby in a way. We've been doing it for 7 years now, almost.
I think so.
It's pretty crazy to think about and how much it's grown. I think our first issue was like maybe 20 pages, and now we're pushing 60 an issue. And it's fun to see the reaction of the community and the feedback that we get every quarter.
Yeah, when I see it shared out by folks like Yakida, because of where Nick works, they shared it on their page, and it just runs wild from there. And that's really cool to see your product and people having fun with it and enjoying it and learning something from it too. I think overall it's been pretty good. I was going through my bookcase because I keep all the back issues and stuff, and I was looking at the COVID years.
Oh yeah,
when we barely published because we were barely open, and just a lot of things that we did to just try to keep the lights on around here and provide some service for the community.
Yeah, and it's crazy now. Here we are 5 years removed from that, right? And it just it doesn't feel like it was that long ago, and it feels like it was ages ago. And again, just to see where we are now with this product and the stories that we're telling. What was your favorite article in this most recent issue?
I really enjoyed writing the one about Nick because he's such a good guy, and he had so many things to say, and it was really hard to even condense that down into a few pages. Really, it's all of it because they all bring something a little bit different,
right?
And I might not be as in tune with what's going on necessarily with children's programming because my daughter's 18, but it's always good to see how parents are utilizing the library and using that as a resource to encourage their kids to read, of course, because that seems to be important, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
But then also just enjoy growing up and experiencing new and different things and figuring out what they want to do.
For sure. And the Nick story was great. I think that the artwork that he's created for our stairwells and for the second floor has really brought color and vibrance to a rather, how do I say this nicely, a plain space, I guess. And it is fun to get to know him outside of his, we all see him down behind the bar at Yakida slinging beers. And it was interesting to me to get to go and see him in his studio, see him at work, and see just how creative he is. I mean, because beyond painting, he does mixed media, he does all kinds of things, and he doesn't seem like a guy who shies away from anything. He said he was writing a screenplay,
right? And
just, people like that always amaze me.
Yeah. And I think, too, another article that was really great in there was just how moms have connected here. And folks that didn't even know each other came in and, they brought their kid to a story time.
Right.
And then got to just talk with other moms out in the corner, while the activity was going on and stuff. How did you come across that? I mean, to throw a question back at you.
Yeah, no, for sure. The mom story was really interesting. I was just going to the different activities to take pictures as I do. And I started talking to a couple moms and was like, well, what do you like about our story times? What do you like about our baby and me was really one of the big ones. And they just said, oh, well, I met her, and we started doing other things together. And it was like, oh, so this friendship and this friend group really like germinated here at the library. It was like, yeah. And, they just talked about things I can relate to as, my daughter's 5. And so having come out of that toddler phase, like the new mom phase, I felt it, they were saying, a lot of times it feels lonely, like you're at home alone with your kid all day and you just don't have anybody your own age to talk to. And, you look at another toy that's talking at you and you go insane. Like all parents can relate to that stuff. And it's just really cool how the library connects people in ways we don't even think. Some of these moms might not even have a library card to this day, but they're still coming here every single week to use one of the services we have and to connect with their friends. And it's just a great thing. And it really shows what the library does beyond just the books on the shelves.
Yeah, and if we could preview a little content for the next
one.
For
sure, absolutely.
Some of the stories that, have come about in the last few months too, the idea that the people have moved into the community, and libraries are really where they migrate to, and they want to find some connection. I mean, they maybe just want to find some information. They want to know what restaurants are good, and, where they can get their dog washed or whatever, comes up. And I think that there's a lot of interest in that everyone can connect with that, because everybody's always had questions about where they live, and there's nothing going on here and stuff like that. I mean, we can debunk all of that at the library, because we can get you that information and help you out and really plug you into some things that you might not have otherwise tried.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that is the thing that's so interesting about it, because it is, when you move into a new community, you're trying to find your way around, and it's so refreshing to hear that there are still families that say, oh, well, like, where can I go with my family? And their first thought is the library, and they seek us out. And then, yeah, you're right, it connects it to so many other things in the community. The summer reading challenge is coming up, and some of the families started participating in that, and then the library became a habit. They're coming back every week now. They move in downtown and they can walk to one of the neighborhood branches or the downtown location here. So there are just so many things. And yeah, it's one of the really fun things about this job is getting to tell those stories.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and then, of course, we also have our other product here, which is Explora magazine, our Spanish language version of that. And I want to say it was probably, 3 years ago, maybe we started doing this?
Yeah.
And really, it was just a way to reach out, because I just looked up the number recently for some other things that hopefully we'll talk about someday, and had to do some demographic data. And, like 27% of the community, Elkhart County-wide, is of Hispanic Latino descent. And you have to think that in a lot of cases like that, they're larger families, they're multi-generation, and there's a lot of Spanish primarily spoken in some of these homes, and this too is a good way, I think, for us to help connect those dots and invite people in, to find out what the library is all about here.
Yeah, for sure. And the feedback on that, I think, has also been great. It is about reaching everybody in the community, and that's what we're here for. And I think that with new stuff we have going on behind the scenes, that people that pick up Explora are going to see more unique content in there, more unique Spanish stories that are unique to Explora in Spanish, and and just continue to build that product as well into its own thing.
Mm-hmm. Great.
And then I also wanted to ask you about the great history pieces you do, the truth in our history. So in this one, you were looking back at the controversial history of
Dr.
Tomczyk. But why do you think why is it so important to you personally to include these history pieces every quarter?
Yeah. We have such a rich history in our local newspaper, and the industry has changed a lot. Let's maybe hold that for a different episode, and we can talk more about that. But I think a lot of the things that were done here that were recorded in those pages of the newspaper still have relevance today. You know, so we're not thinking necessarily about Dr. Tomczyk and the health department, but you know, it hasn't been that long now since we really did need to think about the health department, you know, through the COVID pandemic and, you know, some of the, you know, we talk about mask mandates, we talk about vaccines and things like that. And I think that there are always lessons to be learned here from things that have happened locally that really do tend to play out again in some way, some shape and form. You know, this was an issue that state government, you know, wanted to come in and control the health department. They felt like it was out of control, that there were a lot of things being done that just needed some greater oversight and direction. And really, is that different from, you know, the governor sitting at a press conference saying that, you know, we're going to ask all Hoosiers to mask up and you know, we're going to promote this vaccine,
Right.
you know, that's gone through some limited trials and we want everybody to get the shot. You know, it's, you know, I think that's, you know, it's a leap for sure. I mean, in some cases, but I think that there are things to learn there as far as, you know, how our government has worked and what we expect of it. And I just have a lot of fun with it. I like celebrating the writers too that have come up, you know, because there were always these great generations of newspaper writers here, and you know, of this whole series, this Truth in Our History idea, really celebrates those folks because it really is about them too, because of the professionalism that they showed, their interest in getting the story and telling it to people in an important, direct way.
Yeah.
You know, I'm pretty proud of my history and being a part of that as well.
Yeah.
I haven't necessarily written any about me yet in these, so we can talk about my clips someday maybe. But I think it's a lot of fun to celebrate the Arden Ericksons and all the great characters that have come through that newsroom. Byron Howie, you know, who still reports on Indiana politics, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's fun for someone like me coming into this community, grew up out of state, and to learn, to see that history and learn about it. And yeah, again, how the past always can be mirrored in our present. I think it's really interesting. What are you going to be diving into in the next issue? Yeah,
so there's a great story, you know, from the late 70s, and we had a very profound, well-known, respected prosecutor here in this town, and Mike Cosentino, you know, was elected 7 times to this office, so, you know, he had something going for him, and he was such a tremendous and powerful presence in the courtroom, but about at the same time that Cosentino was starting his journey through his office, a man was elected circuit court judge, defeating a similar type of incumbent. You know, Aldo Simpson had been on the bench for 8 terms. You know, going back to the 1930s, this guy had served. And Dave Redding comes in and he beats him, and he's got all these ideas, and he wants to add efficiency into the system. And don't we talk about government efficiency today? You know, and so it was these two combatants, and you think about a judge and a prosecutor in the same county disliking each other to the point that Cosentino wasn't even filing cases in circuit court, just to see all of that drama come together. And then it really did play out because at one point Redding held Cosentino in contempt. And there will be some really great photos that go along with this spread. I'm really excited to share it. I was texting with an individual last night that also would be of note. He is attempting to stay under the radar at this point after his long career in public service. But we had a really good exchange about just some of the good times. And of course, how much younger everybody looked in those photos.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing I thought was interesting too, there's a tidbit in there about how Judge Redding, like, one of the things he wanted to go after was no-fault divorce, and the lawyers pushed back on it. And, you know, now today we see that Indiana, there's politicians that want to go back from no-fault divorce, and it's always funny to me to think about, well, of course the Bar Association wants that because wants that to go away because that's good for their business. But so yeah, again, just the past and the present, and yeah. Everybody loves looking at the old black and white photos.
Yeah. Well, and I think you've done some things here too, just this week, because we're here at the library kind of leading up to some things. Next month we're celebrating the 60th anniversary of the Palm Sunday tornadoes, and some of the things that you've done, here with the old photographs.
Yeah. So that has been really cool for me as a former newspaper photographer. If the listeners can't tell that we're both old newspaper men, and you can't take that out of us.
Some are older than others.
We will talk about journalism and newspapers and our love for it. But anyway, that's been a really fun experience to go through the old photos. And, obviously anybody around here or even throughout the Midwest, that's old enough to remember, or maybe, their parents or grandparents told them about it. Like the 1965 tornado outbreak is pretty legendary, especially across Indiana. But it was beyond that too. I mean, it went up into Michigan, and I think Illinois and Missouri got hit. So really big deal. But here locally, two tore through between Goshen and Elkhart, right after the other. Like you kind of forget that, until you read the accounts, that they were really within 5 minutes of each other, which is kind of insane. And the one was, a twin funnel, and it was one of the first times a twin funnel had been captured on film by the great Paul Huffman. And it's been really eye-opening to go through the photos, and it really cool to look at them and then get them blown up. And we have them here just behind me a little ways for the public to come and look at. And then we're going to be having an author come. She wrote a book about the Palm Sunday tornadoes, and she'll be coming on April 11th, the date, the 60th anniversary date of that, to talk about her book and her research and let people share their stories too. So it's certainly something that shaped our community here for a long, long time. And it's interesting to revisit it, and, so sobering really to think about the loss and see the destruction that caused.
Yeah, if you think about, and I was lucky to have met Paul Huffman, okay, and I got to play golf with him. I mean, he was basically, as I was starting at the Truth, he was leaving, to go into retirement. And, I was asked this question recently, and I don't remember Paul talking about this. It was in his history, and people knew he did it. And I kind of relate that to the fact that, he left high school to go enlist in World War II.
Yeah.
And you think about those things that, that's a characteristic of the greatest generation, is they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And so I had to, also as part of Truth in the History blog, I researched, just this story of Paul getting this famous photo, first time twin funnels caught on film. First of all, he didn't know he did it.
Right.
He had to go back and soup his film in the old days. It wasn't, that digital camera experience. That's a good one, you know. But the fact that, he was driving back toward Elkhart from Goshen. He had his wife in the car, and he saw, the storm coming up ahead, saw the dirt kicking up and everything like that. And he told his wife, he pulled over on 33. He told Betty to, hit the ditch, save yourself, basically, at this point, because he didn't know what was coming. He gets out of the vehicle, and he always carried his camera with him because he was that kind of newspaper man.
Right.
And he gets out of his car. He wraps his leg around the front bumper of the car to keep from blowing away. He was not a big man. You know? So he knew his limitations, too. But, he snaps off, 6 frames?
Yeah.
And he caught the shot.
Oh, yeah.
And again, never talked about it.
Yeah.
Got Betty out of the ditch.
Yeah.
Hopefully brushed her off, helped her into the car. He drove her home.
Yeah.
And then he went straight toward the storm. He's going and taking more photos of the damage.
Yeah, she says in the story, he dropped me off at home and I didn't see him for 2 days. I mean, that was just, and then he just never talked about it. And it is characteristic of that generation, but it also just is a testament to this community and, how close-knit it was then. Everybody knew somebody who lived in that trailer park that this tornado just destroyed, and to be there immediately afterwards, having to remove debris and help rescue people. It's harrowing and just crazy to think about.
Mm-hmm. And he was, greatly rewarded for getting, first of all, for surviving.
Yeah,
I mean, after everything he had gone through in those couple days, but, Associated Press Photo of the Year and stuff like that. I mean, those are grand accomplishments when you think about The Truth just being like a little Midwestern daily newspaper.
Right. Yeah.
And he caught something so iconic that the main scientists of tornadoes,
right,
Ted Fujita, who created the scale that they're all measured on now, pulls up in his driveway in Dunlap, 55 years ago.
Yeah.
And wants to talk to him about what he saw that day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing.
It is. Yeah. And, and so that's a big thing we have coming up in April. And, is there anything else coming up that we should highlight?
I mean, it feels like every day now up until the start is filled with our summer reading challenge, because we're just trying to get all the pieces lined up, and because we have so many kids come through the door and parents and just folks wanting to stay active through summer vacation, and we like to make it a little bit of fun. We have the rewards and lots of parties, lots of events that go along with that, and so really it feels like it's all that right now. Yeah. And so that'll be starting mid-May. We'll have much more details on it as it gets closer, but we are working behind the scenes to button it up and make sure it's as good as it can be and better than last year. Right. Always. And I think that it's lining up to be a really fun summer, and curbside concerts will come back. We'll have details on that pretty soon, right? Yep. Kicking off May 16th. Give a little preview right here, I guess. The first show will be the Buddy System. Okay. And Buddy Pearson, who's a bassist, you've seen him play in Paul Erdman's band, and he plays solo, like up at Hotel Elkhart, on some gigs, and he's put together a pretty good band, and we're looking forward to that first show. It's going to be nice, right? It's always beautiful in May on a Friday night. Always. Yeah. 70 and sunny. Yeah. It never rains on Fridays. That is correct. That is what we say. Right. Yes, right. Yeah. Just ask the Indy 500. Right. But so just to, I guess, kind of wrap up here, if you're unfamiliar with EPL, we got 5 branches. So we're here in the downtown branch. We also have Pierre, Moran, Cleveland, Osolo, and Dunlap. So we'd love to see you come out, myepl.org. You can find all our locations, our hours, upcoming events, everything like that. We're on all the social medias at myepl on pretty much everything, even TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, myepl. And I don't know. Is there anything else you want to add, Trevor? Just keep watching concert announcements. Lots of fun coming. Yeah. It's going to be a fun spring and summer, as always. So we look forward to that. Thanks, everybody. Thanks.